2025 has come to a close, and what better way to look back on the year by celebrating some of the best and worst games that came out last year. I wanted to revisit this video. I did this last year and I really enjoyed it. Of course, everybody out there has been doing top 10 games of the year lists, and I'm sure you've watched many of them, but I always feel by doing that you miss out on some great games, and 2025 was a very good year for gaming. I played 25 games last year, and of those 25 games I actually completed 17 games, which is an accomplishment considering in 2025 was also the year that I got married, went on my honeymoon, and had a lot of other things going on. So I'm pleased with the fact I managed to beat 17 games, and I want to revisit this by talking about some of my favorite games and ranking them, from worst to best. Now, what I would say in 2025 is I didn't play any really bad games. Thankfully, 2025 was much better compared to 2024 in that way. There were some awful games in 2024, but thankfully 2025 wasn't that. But there were still some games that were disappointments for me. So you will find that there are some picks, some choices, some opinions here that are, I guess, controversial or a little bit different, or you might have different thoughts and different feelings, and that's absolutely fine. This is my own take, this is my own opinion on the games I played last year and what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy, and my thoughts on them. It is, of course, subject to the games that I played and also subject to my own preferences. So do bear that in mind, obviously, when you're watching this game. But I hope you enjoy watching it, and I hope you enjoy hearing about the different games I played last year. And of course, as always, do share your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what games you really enjoyed this past year. And also, don't forget, if you do enjoy the content, like, comment, subscribe. It does really help the channel to grow. It really does. You gotta feed that algorithm to get more clicks, more views, because it's all about engagement. That's what YouTube cares about. But without further ado, let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's jump in and talk about the games I played in 2025. Let's kick it off. So coming in at 25, surprisingly for me, was Assassin's Creed Shadows. I was not expecting this game to be at the bottom of my list. As many of you know, I am a massive Assassin's Creed fan. I've played all of them. I absolutely love the series. I've played all of them, and I have been waiting years for an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan, like I'm sure many of you. And the first kind of 15 hours of the game or so, I was really enjoying. I was genuinely enjoying it, and that probably will come across in if you do, look back and watch my Let's Play or my live stream of the game. I did enjoy it, but as I got further into the game, I just found myself incredibly disappointed with it. I thought the story was really mediocre. I didn't think the characters of Naoe or Yasuke were particularly interesting or charismatic. I actually would have preferred for them to focus down on a single character. I think it would have been more interesting for them to actually just have Naoe as the main character, as the assassin, playing the ninja. That makes more sense to me. And Yasuke could have been like an NPC, a little bit like what we got in previous Assassin's Creed games. But I feel like they were going for kind of a syndicate, an Assassin's Creed syndicate kind of thing. And it just didn't work, because obviously Jacob and Evie Fry were way more charismatic, and it wasn't helped by what was really poor voice acting. The English track in Assassin's Creed Shadows it's diabolical. It's really, really bad. The intonation, the tone, there's no emotion there. The delivery for me just wasn't very, very good. I think the Japanese soundtrack is much better, and if you do want to play the game, I highly recommend it. But the problem this game had for me was the pacing. Once you got to the open world, the story really slows down, and it really just, it does just become this like focus on this area of the map, take out this guy, this will branch out another bunch of people to kill, and it just felt like a lot of busy work without much kind of purpose to it. I'm bored of this whole open world Ubisoft style Assassin's Creed. I want them to go back to more traditional Assassin's Creed. I like the linear story of Assassin's Creed 2 and even Assassin's Creed 3. I like the way they do this and the way you can have like optional objectives and things like that. I miss that. I harken back. I want those old Assassin's Creed games. And yeah, I think after playing this one, I feel like I'm kind of done with the series, which is a really sad place to be. I put a lot of hours into it. I played 41 hours in the game, so obviously there were parts of it I enjoyed. I enjoyed the stealth mechanics. I thought Naue played fantastically. I thought the stealth in the game was really clever. The actual environmental designs and the recreation of kind of Japan around this period was gorgeous. And as someone who has lived in Japan and traveled to many of these locations, the attention to detail was really incredible and perfectly spot on. So I do feel that credit needs to be given to the environmental team and also the gameplay team, like in the introduction of a grapple hook to be able to get high and to use verticality in terms of your stealth, all the different sort of gadgets at Naue's disposal. I really do think if they just stuck with Naue and told a really coherent story, this game would have been far better, but unfortunately it gets lost in the whole Ubisoft style of it. And yeah, I think I just lost interest after 41 hours. I really did. I haven't gone back to play it. Will I beat it? I don't know. I had a similar problem with Valhalla. I think this game is smaller than Valhalla, but definitely it was one of the biggest disappointments for me in 2025. And I just think that is because it might not be the worst game I played. For me, it was the biggest most disappointing game I played because I really love this franchise and I really cared about the game, and I think that for me made it even more disappointing, which is why it's on the bottom of my list, most definitely. Coming in at 24 is Avowed. Obsidian had a bit of a weird year this year. They released 2 games, or 3 actually, that came out this year. One of them is in the bottom of my list, and then one of them is actually in the top of my list, which is mad, absolutely crazy. But Avowed obviously is a first-person fantasy RPG by Obsidian Entertainment. It is set in the world of Eora, which is kind of within the Pillars of Eternity universe. I haven't played any games in the franchise, and I don't know, I played about 7 hours into the game, and I'm not gonna lie, like the story and the characters just really did not grip me. I didn't think the writing was particularly good. I think the companions in Avowed are kind of some of the worst written companions that Obsidian Entertainment have ever written. It sounds really harsh, but that's the truth. I didn't really care about any of them. Probably the companion I liked the most was probably Kai, that was voice acted by Brandon Keener, and I think the only reason I loved him is because obviously he's voice acted by the voice actor that does Garrus Vakarian from Mass Effect, and I could just listen to Brandon's dulcet tones all day long. It doesn't matter what he's saying, I'm just captivated. I love his voice and his delivery, and I thought he did a good job, and so he was probably my favorite because of my connection obviously to Garrus. But yeah, I thought the writing wasn't great and the character companions and story weren't great. It was an okay looking game from what I remember, but it didn't really wow me. I don't remember it wowing me in terms of the locations. I would say I kind of enjoyed the combat. I think the thing I liked about the combat the most was the dual wielding side of the combat. I thought that was really fun, and I quite enjoyed dabbling into magic. You can dual wield pretty much anything from a sword and shield to 2 swords, a sword and a wand, a magic spell book, and a pistol. There's so much scope there for expression in terms of combat, and I do remember enjoying the combat. So who knows, maybe I will go back again and play it and finish it off. But I think when I was playing Avowed, through Game Pass mind you, other things came out that just distracted me, and the game didn't do enough to hold my attention, which is why it's so far down on this list. And I know for many other people Avowed was a disappointment as well. I think this is a game worth picking up on sale rather than full price. That's just how I generally feel about it. Coming in at 23 is Echoes of the End. This was a debut title actually from Mercure Games. It's a third-person action adventure game It's made actually by an Icelandic team. It's an indie developer team, and this game takes heavy inspiration from God of War. It's got God of War running all the way through it, from its combat to its exploration, even some of its puzzle solving elements as well. There's even a boat that you travel around on. It's very God of War. You can see the inspiration very, very clearly, but I generally enjoyed it. You basically play as a character, a girl called Rin, who is a powerful vestige, born with magical abilities and affinity for this ancient magic. You are pretty much feared by most of your society, and kind of seen as a threat to the status quo and the way that things are. Basically, your brother gets kidnapped at the start of the game, and you have to save him while also sort of saving your village from this invading villain and invading army. Generally speaking, the story it's okay, you know, it's an average story, and cast, it's fine, it's perfectly serviceable, I would say, but it's not going to blow you away. It's a fine story, but predictable, I would say, and not especially memorable. The combat itself was fun. Initially the combat starts out a little simple. Counters, parries, you have the ability to kind of kinetically like throw enemies as well, and throw boulders and throw things at enemies, but really the combat system doesn't really start to shine until you start to unlock more abilities. And once you do get those abilities, then the combat system really starts to become fun, and it really starts to open up. So what I would say is the game does start very, very slowly, and the main character, she's very sassy. She's not particularly likable. She has kind of traits of like Forspoken, but not as bad, right? Not as mean with it, but she is very serious. She doesn't come across great initially, but then as you progress, particularly to the very back end of the game, she does have a little bit of a character arc and a little bit of development. So what I would sort of say is this game it's a slow burn, but it's worth sticking with it, and I do think it gets better the more that you play it. And some of the puzzles were really fun, and some of the biomes that you travel to were really cool. There's some very interesting biomes and very interesting mechanics. There was one mechanic where gravity kept shifting, and sometimes you would walk up walls and along ceilings. It was really cool. It was a really cool, like, there's some very, very cool biomes and very, very cool puzzles. Like, there are moments in this game where I was playing it and going, man, this is so creative, and so interesting. But it is AA, and it definitely has that AA jank to it. There are parts of the parkour that, I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of annoying. There are parts where you'll just like go to jump and your character will do something very, very different. So it can be irritating. There can be a lot of unnecessary deaths, but it definitely is worth pushing through it. And it's not a super long game. I beat it in about 13 hours. So it's a nice kind of a couple of evenings or a weekend or an afternoon. It's a good game to jump into and check out. I'm not sure what the price is, but definitely it's worth picking it up, probably for maybe £20, £25, I would say. It's probably worth that price, but anything above that, no, definitely not. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good fun playthrough this year. Coming in at 22 is Eternal Strands. This, for me, was one of my biggest surprises of the year. It really wasn't on my radar at all. I was interested because this is actually from Yellow Brick Games. It's their debut title, and Yellow Brick Games were interesting for me because they were founded by Mike Laidlaw, who is the chief creative officer at the studio. And for anybody who knows, obviously he's a massive BioWare veteran, and he's very well known for the Dragon Age series, the Dragon Age franchise, and you can sort of see that a little bit in the game in terms of some of the character designs and clothing and things like that. But this basically is a fantasy action game It's very interesting. You play as a character called Bryn, who is a young weaver, and you're trying. You get stuck behind kind of this in this kind of place called the Enclave, and it's an ancient kind of civilization. It's an area that once was the thriving center of magic that was basically now left in ruins, and you're exploring this previously unexplored area to find out what happened and to uncover the mysteries and the stories. And you have the ability basically to wield elemental magic, so you can use fire, ice, and kinetic magic within the gameplay. It's really fun. Like, as you go in, you can use this magic to traverse obviously different areas, but you can actually use it in combat. And as you explore, you can collect resources and things, and then you can face off against normal enemies, and then there are these like big hulking enemies, and it definitely has vibes of like Shadow of the Colossus meets Dragon's Dogma, where you fight these larger than life enemies, and you can use your magic to kind of, you could freeze their leg to freeze them in place maybe, or if you're up in the air and you're on a dragon, for example, and literally holding onto a dragon, which happened, you can freeze their wings, and this will cause them to plummet to the ground, and then you can do damage to them and take off their armor and things like that. You can use kinetic ability to throw logs at them, to throw back things that they might be throwing at you. And as you beat each of these enemies, it unlocks new abilities. But it is a little bit roguelike in the way that if you die when you're out exploring in the open world or in the area, you basically lose all of your loot, all of your resources that you've gathered. So if a fight's not going bad, you can actually choose to leave that fight. You can run away and you can basically return to base. And it's at base where you can use these resources to craft stronger weapons, new weapons, better armor and things like that. And that means then when you go out again, you'll have a much easier time of it. So it's very cool. It has vibes of like Monster Hunter in that way for me, in that you're doing multiple runs, right? And as you beating enemies and upgrading and collecting resources, you get stronger and you get more powerful. And then obviously you have companions that you can also talk to at your base camp, and they will help you in terms of like crafting certain things, and it's just really fun. It's a really fun game, and it was one of the biggest surprises for me this year. Now, I only had time to play about 6 hours of it. I wished I'd played more of it, because actually thinking back on it, I really enjoyed it. I don't know why I didn't play more. Probably I just had to play other games, and other things came out around that time. It was about the back end of January when it came out, so I think I had other things coming out that I had to jump onto. But what I did play of Eternal Strands, I very much enjoyed, and I highly recommend it. It's an interesting game. It's a fun game for sure, and it's definitely a nice game where you can pick at it. You know, you could do a couple of runs or do a run. It's a bit like Hades, you know, in that way. Or you could just completely get lost in it for a couple of hours, which is also very easy to do as well. But yeah, Eternal Strands was a great game that I played this year. Coming in at 21 is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. This game, I have feelings on it for sure. Now, I haven't played the first Bloodlines game at all, so I didn't come, you know, to this game with all of that baggage. And this obviously is by the Chinese Room. There was a lot of drama and controversy, I think you would say, in terms of the development of this game. It had a very rough development cycle. Started off with one developer, they then got taken off of it. Chinese Room took over. Now, the Chinese Room have never done an RPG before, so this is their very first kind of RPG, and it really shows. It very much shows in Bloodlines 2. So the basic premise is you play as the Nomad. This is an elder vampire who is awakened from a century-long slumber, and you awaken in 21st century Seattle. Something happens at the beginning of the game, and basically a stranger's voice, a vampire detective known as Fabian, is in your head, is in your voice. So you have this second personality, and as you're progressing through the story, you're trying to find out why he's in your mind and what happened and what's going on. And there's also like a bit of a mark on your body, on your hand, and that's allowing people to kind of control you a little bit, and you're trying to find out who put that mark there, what their goal is, what's going on. Generally speaking, I did enjoy the game. That's the first thing I'm going to say. So I enjoyed the story. I thought the story and the voice acting was good. I think it's an okay vampire game. I think it's if you had not played Bloodlines 1, or you didn't know that this was meant to be an RPG and what's sort of missing, I think you actually would enjoy the story. There are some points in the story where you make certain choices and certain decisions in terms of who to side with and what to do, and that does have some impact on the story, though how much impact I'm not sure, because I haven't replayed it multiple times. But there are some choices that you can make, which is really, really cool. There is some degree of role play there, but it really is bare bones. This is a very, very bare bones RPG. You basically pick to play as one of so many clans. I chose to play as a Tremere. They're known for their blood sorcery, so I had some very cool moves, which my favorite one was Blood Salvo, which is like these blood daggers that you could conjure and then throw at enemies. That for me was super fun. There's something called the Blood Curse as well, where you can put a curse on an enemy, and when they take damage, their blood basically boils and then explodes from the inside, causing massive damage to enemies. And yeah, there are different moves that you can take. Now, for me, I was very confused by some of the choices that were made with this game. Everything is played in first person, including the combat. I actually initially I found the combat awful, clunky as anything. It was so difficult to stay focused on enemies. The camera would swing. There's no actual block button, which is ridiculous. You can dash, dodge away. If you dash towards an enemy at exactly the right moment, then you will parry, you will block, but otherwise you will take damage. And you can sort of punch. You have abilities which you unlock as you level up, which is fine. But for me, you're an elder dragon, right? So you not an elder dragon, you're an elder vampire, right? So you're meant to be super, super powerful. But honestly, when I was playing through this combat initially, I was getting my ass handed to me. Things that were meant to be simple combat sections were just so difficult and so challenging. And then like I was trying to play the game as stealthy as possible, right? But you are really limited in terms of what you can do in terms of stealth until you start, getting more powerful abilities. Like I spec'd into the Ventru ability, which gave me possession, which allowed me to actually see through an enemy's eyes and control their actions, so I could actually give them an order to attack their allies and thin their numbers. There's also another ability called Terminal Decree, where you can actually command a mortal to kill themselves, which was just awesome, really cool. So once you spec'd and got more abilities, then you had more options, in terms of taking enemies down stealthily. But very quickly early on, like, you would get spotted because you'd have to go right behind someone stealthily and then feed on them, right? So it was really difficult to, because of the way they were all set out, you got spotted really easily. And then once you went into open combat, it just became an absolute free-for-all. So I had like really small mooks that were killing me very easily, and I'm an elder vampire, so I'm supposed to be like the most powerful of vampires, within this lore. So that juxtaposition, I just couldn't get over it, and I got so annoyed by it that I ended up just turning the combat onto easy, because I literally just wanted to play through the story. That is how frustrated I got with it. As you played further on and you unlocked more abilities, and then the game started to open up and I started to enjoy it a lot more. Now obviously you open up your own abilities as a Tremere, but you can actually learn abilities from other clans, and the way that you do that is to go around the world and you sort of scan, and different enemies or different people in the world have different like auras or colors around them, which tells you they're a certain type of blood essence, and you need certain types of blood essences to unlock abilities for the other clans. They say this can happen because you're an elder vampire, right? And you have known all of these abilities, but you've forgotten them because you've been asleep for over 100 years, which I just thought was a really flimsy kind of excuse. But it means that actually, if you go on and grind a little, you can actually unlock all of the abilities for all of the different clans. Picking a clan only really has an impact upon maybe the combat. In terms of the story, there really wasn't much impact in terms of how people, there was reference, but it didn't really change, dialogue options or even missions that you had available to you. You didn't really feel the clans that well and how they worked within Seattle. So in many ways it's very much inferior to what we got in Bloodlines. I think if this game had not been called Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, it probably would have been received much more positively, but because it was called 2, people expected a sequel, and this very much was not a sequel. So it was an okay game. It was fine. I probably would get it on sale, and I think it's worth playing it through if you like your vampire games. But if you're wanting a sequel to Bloodlines 1, this is not it. Absolutely not it. But yeah, generally I enjoyed it, but yeah, there were moments of it that I was really frustrated with, and it's not a massively long game. I beat it in about 23 hours, so it's an okay length in terms of a story. Coming in at number 20 is Death Stranding 2. This is further down my list only purely for the reason that I haven't actually played that much of it. I've played about 8 hours of Death Stranding 2, and so far I'd say I'm enjoying it. Obviously it's a sequel, to the original Death Stranding. Obviously it's Hideo Kojima's brainchild. It's set in a new location, so it's set primarily in Australia, and the game is set 11 months after the events of the first game. What I have played so far, I'm intrigued. It's Kojima, so it's very much out there, just like the first game was. I'm very curious what the heck's going on. I would say it's more closer in line with like Metal Gear than Death Stranding, so it is still very much a walking simulator, but I think Kojima has introduced a lot more things to smooth out that experience, so to speak. So there are more vehicles obviously that you can use within it. There are also a lot more weapons at your disposal. It seems like there's more action in the sequel than there was in the first one, whereas the first one was a lot more like survival horror style in terms of like you having to kind of navigate through these quite scary, tense moments. There are those moments, and I have experienced those moments early on. They definitely got the heart pounding, but it definitely seems more sort of action focused for sure. I think for me, the problem I have with Death Stranding 2 is I have to really be in the mood to play it, and I have to really be like not tired, fully like wide awake, because stuff that's thrown at you is just completely left field. So you do really have to kind of have your wits about you, when you're playing the game. So maybe that's why I haven't played as much as I would like, and I've just had other games that I'd rather play or rather jump in on. But maybe, who knows, when I've played more of it, this may well move up, on my list. I know obviously it was nominated, I think, for Game of the Year this year, and it was nominated for many awards, so it must be a pretty good game. Yeah, like I for me, I'm still sort of making my mind up on it. Coming in at 19 is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Now, I'm really surprised that this game is so low down on my list. I haven't played the first game, I'm not gonna lie. This obviously is by Warhorse Studios, and it is a sequel to the first game, continuing on the story of Henry of Skalitz, set in the 15th century medieval Europe. It's a very story-driven action RPG. I played about 12 hours of the game, and I know a lot of people have been saying to me that early on in the game, it's really hard. It starts off, the prologue is fantastic. Like, the prologue is so good. The voice acting, the facial animations, the delivery, the writing is fab. It's really great. And the opening prologue, it just had me laughing out loud completely. Really enjoyed it. But then you get to this point where pretty much something happens and you lose everything. You lose your horse, you lose your armor, you lose your weapons, you're pretty much stripped of everything, and you are at rock bottom, and you basically have no money, no nothing, and you have to kind of pull yourself out of that. And I know a lot of people have been saying, like, legitimately the early part of the game will just beat you down. This is a world that will just beat you down. It's a survival game to a degree, in that you have to manage your health, sleeping, eating. You have to wash your clothing, and your weapons will actually degrade over time. You have no money, so like you can't buy basic foods and do basic things. Even finding a place to sleep, is difficult. And so, like, the early part of the game, it's really brutal. It's really, really brutal. And there've been a few times where, like, things have just happened and I've just been like, man, this world freaking hates me. Because, like, there were moments where, like, I was traveling to from one location to another through a fast travel kind of system, and I got interrupted partway through it. And the game says, like, do you want to stop, or do you want to carry on? And I thought, I'll stop and see what happens. Anyway, I ended up in this conversation with a guy, and I ended up, like, agreeing to have a drink with him, like celebrating his daughter's wedding or whatever. This guy frigging robbed me. He mugged me, stole my shoes and everything I had, and basically left me penniless and shoeless. Hungover the following day. And I'm like, dude, like, it took me ages, like, to get those shoes, to get that money. And so, like, it very much is hard, like, initially, early on. So there are moments where I'm like, I freaking hate this game, but then there are moments where I'm like, freaking love this game, because this game it's so cleverly, I can see why it's in people's top 10. 100% I can see it. Obviously it's so clever, all the systems that work, but there is a lot that the game does not explain to you in terms of the perk system and how that works, and the leveling and everything. There's a lot that is not explained to you, and you need patience with this game for sure. I don't think this is going to be a game that is for everyone, but I think it will be a very rewarding game if you stick with it. And I hear the story is fantastic, and that's what I'm interested in. So I am going to persevere with it. 100% I am, and I am determined to beat it in 2026. It is on my backlog list of games I'm wanting to play this year, so I will play it, I will finish it, and who knows, if my opinion on it changes and it moves further up in my estimation, I might do a video on it, possibly talking about it, having finished it. But right now, I'm at a point in the game where, like, I'm just hating it. Like, cause it's just hard. It's really hard. And so, yeah, like, I was playing it the other night. I'm like, God damn this game! Like, the other night when I was playing it. But I can see why many people love it. I get that completely. And I just need to be more patient. And I need to learn that combat, because that combat is just kicking my ass at the moment. I really need to learn it. But yeah, so it's at 19 because I haven't played very much of it, and I'm at a point where I'm struggling a bit. Coming in at 18 is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I was surprised that this was so far down on my list here. I'm a massive Metroid fan. I actually loved Metroid Dread. It was one of the best games that I played when it came out. Obviously, it's made by a different studio, and obviously that was more 2D, whereas Metroid Prime 4 is a 4D game. It's made by Retro Studios, and it's been like 18 years since the last Metroid Prime 3 game came out, which was back in 2007. Samus Aran obviously returns. Within Metroid Prime 4, you are transported pretty much to a new world, an undiscovered planet called Vuros, and there are obviously there were alien inhabitants of that world called the Lamorn. They have access to ancient technology. You learn some new psychic abilities, and obviously you lose all your stuff right at the beginning, like any Metroid game. And then you have to re-find it all and rediscover it all. My thoughts on Metroid Prime 4, very mixed. I feel like it's an okay Metroid game, but for me, it was a very safe Metroid game. It didn't really offer much new for me, or the new things that it did offer, I didn't think were the right decision. That's what I probably would say. So I like the psychic abilities. I thought those were really, really cool. That was fine, and the game looked visually beautiful and visually stunning, but there were some design choices that I didn't really enjoy. So the first probably is the introduction of companion characters. So you have these Galactic Federation soldiers that you will meet along the way. They join you, for part of the game, and then go back to base camp, but they're constantly there in your ear and will constantly talk over you. For me, it didn't work for Metroid because Samus has always been this kind of lone wolf, exploring in the galaxy and discovering things. Whereas, within this, you put Samus next to these companions, but she's a non-speaking character. So when these companions are talking to Samus and asking her questions and interacting with her, she doesn't say anything. She just nods along or looks at them or stares at them. It makes for some really awkward dialogue scenarios. It made those moments feel incredibly awkward and forced. And then some of them are better than others, I will say that, but some of them are they're just terrible. They're just Marvel sort of comedy writing, So I didn't like the tone of that. I think though they would have been fine if they'd fully committed, if they'd made Samus a voice character, and then we might have seen and heard more her interaction with these companions, and we would have cared about them a little bit more if they had developed their characters and their backstory a lot more than they did do. So it's like they were trying something new but didn't fully commit to it. The other thing obviously is your bike. So you have a new motorcycle called the Viola, and there's an open world section, kind of these sand dunes which you ride across between different maps, different locations. It's awful. That open world section, you have to smash these green crystals. It is awful. It is purely just there for padding. There really is no purpose to it. The bike riding sections really, for me, were pointless. They didn't really add anything to the game. So that, for me, I feel like these elements were clearly a sign of developmental woes. The game is trying different things, and again, there's a lack of vision there. There's a lack of cohesion. It doesn't quite know what it is. So it's got many kind of disparate kind of parts to it, and that's how I felt. So for me, yeah, Metroid Prime 4, it was disappointing. I found it disappointing for me, most definitely. I thought it was a safe sequel. And it felt a little dated. It didn't feel like they really added much or changed too much to the formula. When you look at a lot of other Metroid games that came out last year, like Silksong, for example, that are doing a lot of really exciting new things, and Metroid's in the corner over here playing it safe. That's how I generally felt. Coming in at 17 is Mafia: The Old Country. This was developed by Hangar 13. I enjoyed Mafia: The Old Country this year. It's basically it's a gritty mob story set in 1900s Sicily. You play as Enzo Ferrara, and you basically join this kind of mafia family led by a guy called Don Torrisi. You fall in love with the Don's daughter. It's like a doomed, fated kind of love. It's not going to go well. Can you tell him? Can you not? There's rival family, your typical mafia, sort of stuff. Generally speaking, the story was okay, I would say. I'd say it's very predictable. It's incredibly predictable. What you think is going to happen is what's going to happen 100%. But I was fine with that. I was okay with a predictable story because the voice acting, the delivery, the cinematics, the music were absolutely beautiful. So the moments where you're watching the story unfold and you're watching these like cinematic cutscenes was fantastic. The gameplay is okay. You know, there are segments where there are like chasing things, so you can like chase on horseback sequences. There's car races that you can do. The gunplay is very simple, very simple gunplay, very familiar to previous Mafia games. So if you like your Mafia games, you're gonna enjoy, you know, Mafia the Old Country, because it's pretty much just more of the same, but just looks better. So yeah, I generally enjoyed it. It's quite a fairly short game, about 14 hours. So make of that what you will, you know, in terms of what your price point is. But yeah, it was a mid-range game this year, which is why it came in at 17. At 16 for me was Borderlands 4, obviously by Gearbox Software. Now, I was disappointed with Borderlands 3. I really didn't like the writing in Borderlands 3, and I absolutely hated the villains in Borderlands 3. I will say the writing so far in Borderlands 4 feels better. I haven't beaten the game. Dante and I have played about 24 hours in the game. It's set in a new location, obviously Kairos. There's a new villain called the Timekeeper. He is much better than the villains in Borderlands 3. He's a lot more sinister, and he has his own kind of like, you know, commanders, you know, and things like that. And you have to take them down and stuff like that. The writing so far has been good. It's been fine. Like the tone has been better for me. A little bit more serious in terms of what's going on, but there's still those Borderlands moments, you know, in terms of humor, claptrap and different things going on. I've been playing as Vex, who's the siren, because I always play a siren in every playthrough, and Dante's been playing Harlow, who's like more like your techie kind of character, and we've been enjoying it. We have been enjoying it. The gunplay is still beautiful, really satisfying. The guns are really satisfying. The powers are really cool. We've been playing it on PC, and actually we haven't had any issues in terms of performance. I don't know how we got lucky there, because I heard the game did have issues in terms of performance on PC, but we were able to kind of follow Gearbox's recommendations in terms of settings and things to get, you know, the game to run as we wanted. So we haven't had any issues like that. We have had the odd crash here or there, but nothing too game breaking for us. But so far, enjoying it so far. We're very much in the open world segment of things at the moment, so it is slowing a little bit in terms of pacing, and there's a lot of the map is just cluttered with stuff. Sometimes I think too much stuff on the map for my liking. A lot of busy work, but some elements of it I really enjoyed, like the open world kind of live events that can happen, and if you like take down these enemies, you get lots of loot from them. The vaults were really cool, because if you unlock, you get these keys to vaults, and if you unlock these vaults, like you'll have like a run basically, where you take down waves of enemies as you go to each location, and then at the end of it there are some really satisfying boss fights at the end of it. So far what we've played in Borderlands 4 we've really enjoyed, but I haven't completed it. That's why it's a little bit mid on my list, because we haven't finished it. But so far, yeah, very much enjoying Borderlands 4. I think more than Borderlands 3. I'm enjoying it more than Borderlands 3, so that's really, really good. Coming in at 15 is Sword of the Sea. This, of course, is from Giant Squid. It's from the makers of Absu, The Pathless, and Journey. Sword of the Sea for me this year was a gorgeous game. It's a short game, about 4 hours, but I really enjoyed it. You basically surf on a sword across kind of waves of sand and also in waters, and you're trying to restore a lost ocean to these dried lands. But the visual design of it, the music, it's just gorgeous, and very much Sword of the Sea is very much like a Zen type game, you know, and that you'll get kind of immersed in it and just kind of lost in the music, and you very much vibe out as you're playing through it. There is the odd boss fight, I suppose you could call it, but not really. It's a very chill game for me. I very much enjoyed it, and I finished it in a single afternoon, and yeah, it's gorgeous, really, really gorgeous, and yeah, it was an enjoyable playthrough and really satisfying traversal and really interesting. Coming in at 14 is Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, I, for me, was surprised that Monster Hunter was not in my top 10 this year, because I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan. I've played a lot of Monster Hunter Worlds, over 1,000 hours in Monster Hunter World. So I jumped in to Monster Hunter Wilds. I was very much looking forward to it. I've put 93 hours into the game and beaten it, but for me, I was actually disappointed with Monster Hunter Wilds this year. I enjoyed it mostly because I was playing it with friends, and that's where you get most of the enjoyment from. But for me, I just feel like with Monster Hunter Wilds that Capcom have kind of like watered the series down a little bit. So there were some design choices that they made that were the wrong choices for me. There were some choices they made that were the better choices, like for example the ability to switch between 2 weapons is an absolute game changer. To the ability to have like a dual wielding and also a bow equipped is fantastic, because then you can just switch between them, especially because, you know, if you're a dual wielder, you're going to struggle against some of those flying enemies and whatnot. So the introduction of 2 weapons, absolutely fantastic. They definitely tried more with the story in Monster Hunter Wilds. There is definitely more cinematics, more voice acting, there's more story than we've ever had in Monster Hunter before, and I generally enjoyed it. It was an okay story, I would say. I found Nata, the main little boy in it, a little irritating, a little annoying. But generally speaking, like, I thought they clearly you could see they were trying, you know, with the story, and I generally enjoyed it. But it's, you know, it's very much a Monster Hunter kind of story. But in other ways, I just felt that the game felt too sanded down. The difficulty for one is far too easy. The monsters in the game they're still like animated fantastically well, and how they do them in terms of like their attacks and things and how they change, you know, as you go through the fights is still incredible, but it just didn't feel like they were doing as much damage as they have done in previous entries. And part of that may well be the new wound system. It's much easier to stagger them, it's much easier to wound them, to combo, you know, into things and to do more damage, and fights were just over a lot quicker. So in Monster Hunter Worlds, I remember some fights could go like for 45-50 minutes, and it could get really down to the wire, you know, in terms of beating these monsters. But in Wilds, like, you'd be lucky if a fight lasted more than 15 minutes, you know. It was very much I feel that they designed it so it was a much easier game to jump in and jump out of, you know, rather than play in it for an extended period of time. So the difficulty for me was way too easy. I remember in Worlds, like, as you played through the story and were introduced and were hunting new monsters, you very much had to like learn about these monsters, and you kind of had to farm them to get better gear, to be able to craft better gear so you could take on the next monster, which you know, your gear, if it wasn't high enough level, you'd just be absolutely you'd just be killed really easily. But in Monster Hunter Wilds, I don't think I actually needed to craft new gear until I got to the kind of like the high rank stuff and the master level stuff. And so like, that's crazy for me in a Monster Hunter game. Like I just think they got the balance wrong in terms of difficulty. Also, the Secret, while it was cool to have, like, you know, another mount for you to ride on, the Secret, with it being automated in terms of like you would just click onto the monster wherever it was on the map, which you would show, and then the Secret would just go straight there. It made traversal and hunting kind of boring. It was just more there a case of like, right, fast travel there, go straight there, you know. And I might use it to like carve my sword, you know, while sharpen my sword, you know, while I was on it, or whatever. So I miss kind of the hunting side of Monster Hunter Worlds, where you'd look for like clues in the world, you know, to hunt them down and use your green flies, you know, to get around. I kind of miss all of that. So I mean, obviously people have different feelings about the secrets as well, because also like they can be used to get out of dodge, right? Like you can, like, if you're on the ground and that monster looks like it's going to attack you, you can call your secret, it'll pick you up, you kind of get like invulnerability frames, and you can survive what would otherwise be, you know, a killer attack on you. So again, that might be another reason why fights just felt too easy. So I had fun with it. I wouldn't have played 93 hours in the game if I hadn't have had fun. But for me, it was Capcom taking the series in the wrong direction for me. That's generally how I felt about it. I'd be interested to hear how Edge and Dante felt about it, because they also played it and are massive Monster Hunter fans as well. So if you guys are watching the video, let me know what you guys thought of Monster Hunter Wilds. So moving on, at 13 we have Hyrule Age of Imprisonment. This is a sequel to Hyrule Age of Calamity. Obviously it's by Koei Tecmo's AAA game studio, published by Nintendo. It is a Dynasty Warriors action style combat game, and it's sort of a prequel, to Tears of the Kingdom. It follows the story of Zelda when she gets teleported to ancient Hyrule, and she joins forces with King Rauru, Queen Sonia, and obviously the other allies in sort of fighting Ganondorf and fighting his invasion with ultimately how they basically seal him away. I loved it. I absolutely loved Hyrule Age of Imprisonment. Like, what they do with these games is always fantastic, and it was really cool that cutscenes and the voice acting, to see them flesh out the story, was really, really fun. But then the combat, man, like the combat in this game is just so much fun. All the combos that you can do, being able to switch between all the different characters, the new sync attacks that you can do, the sync strikes that you can do between different companions and different characters as well, was just absolutely fantastic. I feel like they took everything in Age of Calamity and just improved upon every single factor. This is very much a sequel, and it is very much a better game for it. So yeah, Hyrule Age of Imprisonment was a fantastic game, which is why obviously it comes in at 13. Coming in at number 12 is Doom: The Dark Ages. This is actually a prequel to Doom, 2016's Doom and Doom Eternal. It's a medieval Doom, basically, set during a war with hell. Yeah, it's fab. Like, honestly, I actually completed the game, and it is actually the first proper Doom game I've actually completed, which is madness, really, when you think about it. But I found Doom Eternal's combat too frenetic, like, because you can like jump and dash and grapple all over the place, and I found it really hard to sort of come to terms with that. The combat felt too fast in Doom Eternal for me, but in Doom: The Dark Ages, the combat is very grounded. You are the Doom Slayer, you have your weapon, you have a shield, which is awesome, and it is very much about being grounded. It's very much about blocking, parrying, attacking, doing melee attacks, and obviously different weapon attacks as well, and all the different weapons in the game are just fantastic, all the weapons that you find. So I really enjoyed it. It also feels as well that they made more of an effort in terms of the story in Doom: The Dark Ages. There's very much a story, there are cinematics. It very much felt like Halo meets Masters of the Universe, and yeah, I was very much down for it. It was not an amazing story, but I really enjoyed what was on offer here, which was really cool. The only thing I think they kind of faltered on probably was I didn't really enjoy the mech and the flying sections in the game. I thought these were kind of the weaker elements of the combat, of the gameplay. They were like little bits between, more sort of solid combat sections. So I suppose they broke it up a little bit, which is kind of cool. But the mech fighting, there's only certain button combos that you can do, and it gets old very, very quickly. And then the flying feels very much on rails, in terms of even when you're shooting things, you lock on and then you're just dashing left and right while you're firing and attacking them. So it didn't feel like true dog fighting, in terms of aerial combat. So I was disappointed, with the flying sections. I would have liked that to be a little bit more freer. It felt very much on rails, and I'm not really one for that sort of experience, but generally speaking, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good Doom game, which is why it's number 12 on my list. Coming in at number 11 is Silent Hill F. I have scored this at 11 simply for the fact of I've only played like 5 or 6 hours of the game. I actually played this on stream in October or November because I decided I was going to play a horror game this Halloween. I actually streamed it, and I was interested because obviously it's Silent Hill but set in Japan. It's a psychological horror game, of course, set in 1960s Japan. You play Shimizu Hinako, who lives in a very isolated town called Ebisugaoka. It's like a small village. Suddenly, obviously, it's covered in fog. and very much your home gets transformed into like just a nightmare, basically, with some really hideous creatures. I'm not much of a horror fan, but I will say what I've played of Silent Hill F, I am very much enjoying. I like the vibe. I think the art direction is absolutely incredible. I think the music is so haunting, and I think the performance of the voice actress that plays Hinako is phenomenal. I think she does an incredible job, and it's so interesting because you're like, is this in her mind? Is this actually happening? Nothing is clear. It's so cool the way it's done. But then the combat as well, it's melee based combat, and it's visceral. Like she is a teenager, right? So like she's not meant to be able to kick everybody's ass. You know what I mean? So like the combat, if you do a heavy hit, you do more damage and you stagger the enemy, which gives you more free hits. And obviously you have a stamina bar and you have a sanity bar as well. And like the combat, it's just so tense, because if you overcommit, you're so vulnerable, and if you get grabbed by an enemy, so the whole time I'm playing the combat, like, and the weapons degrade as well, so you've got that to factor in too. So honestly, I was blown away when I played Silent Hill F, for sure. I am wanting to finish it. It's only a short game, I hear, and of course you can replay it, and that unlocks like hidden secrets and secret endings and all those kind of things. I hear it's worth replaying multiple times, but yeah, I'm very much like, I want to finish it. I might have to get Dante to like sit with me and play it with me and give me emotional support while I play the game, because I'm not a horror gamer, as you all know. So those are like my bottom 15 games. We're now going to move into my top 10 games. So these are the top 10 best games I played this year. So yeah, let's move into my top 10. Coming in at number 10 is Ninja Gaiden 4. Obviously, this is dual developed by Platinum Games and Team Ninja. As soon as I heard Platinum Games was behind this game, I was in. I was super interested. Obviously, it's a hack and slash game, just like the previous titles. Now, I've played a little bit of Ninja Gaiden. I've dabbled, shall we say, at Ninja Gaiden, but I've never actually completed a Ninja Gaiden game. This is the first Ninja Gaiden game I have actually completed. It's not a super long game. It took me about 13 hours to beat it. I think there are like 19 chapters that you play through, and I really enjoyed it. Now, there's no story here, not really, and you don't really play a Ninja Gaiden game for the story, to be fair. You play it for the combat, for sure. Now the combat in this game, fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and really challenging. Initially, when you start off, it's very easy to fall into that kind of button mashing, trap that you can. But this game, it's very much about blocking, and it's very much about dodging, and it's about learning the moves and taking that time to learn the moves, because once you get it and once that combat clicks for you, God, it's satisfying. Like, the combat in Ninja Gaiden 4 is fantastic. There were moments I was playing this game where I would literally whoop in excitement, because I'd be like, oh my God, that was so awesome. And it felt incredible and it looked amazing. So there are so many moments of that in Ninja Gaiden 4. Now, you play a new character in Ninja Gaiden 4. You play Yakumo, who is basically from the Raven clan. Honestly speaking, his character a little bit boring for me. Very kind of emo, sort of. Doesn't really say much, very one-dimensional. I didn't find his character particularly interesting, or generally the cast of characters particularly interesting. Ryu Hayabusa is in it, but just to sort of set the expectations, you do get to play as him, but only for 3 or 4 chapters out of the 19 chapters. So for the majority of the game, you are playing as Yakumo, but the moments when you play as Ryu, God damn it, he's powerful. And the moments that you play as him, it's like, oh, this is awesome. And the problem is, he's way more powerful than Yakumo. So when you go back to play as Yakumo after playing as Ryu Hayabusa, really difficult to go back to that, because you're like, oh, can you give me the OP character, please? Like, things were so much easier, you know, with all the health and all the abilities. So yeah, but like Yakumo has like 4 different weapon types that you can switch between freely, and then you also have this like blood gauge where you can morph your weapon into a different kind of weapon that does more damage and more attacks. So it's very much like a balance between kind of dodging, parrying. If you do like a perfect parry, you can do another combo to do like a riposte kind of thing, you know, an attack. And if you dodge, like you can like do like a phase dodge where you kind of turn all blue, and then you can do a follow-up attack with that as well. You can juggle in the air, you can aerial attack them and do like, you know, all sorts of really cool moves. But the combat, man, in this game is just phenomenal. It's so good, but it is really challenging, and you will die, and that's fine. That's part of the game. It's not a Souls game, obviously, so it's a bit more forgiving, but yeah, it's worth persevering. And then obviously as you play through, you get scored, you know, on every chapter, so it has that replay value to it if you're wanting to go back and kind of like get those perfect scores and that kind of thing. But generally speaking, yeah, I really enjoyed the combat, and yeah, it was great. It was a great game to play this year. Coming in at number 9 is Lego Voyagers. I was surprised that this game was in my top 10 this year. I picked it up because I saw the trailer of it, and I thought, damn, that's a cute game. I love that. And it's obviously 2-player co-op as well. I played it with Dante couch co-op, local couch co-op, and it's by Lightbrick Studio. And it's adorable. It's such a cute co-op game. There's no voice acting in it whatsoever. I mean, you can make little noises and sounds, you know, as your individual Lego bricks, but it's got a gorgeous like soundtrack, and it's really cool. Like, you basically like, you see this kind of spaceship take off and then crash, and this abandoned spaceship, and part of your journey is to kind of piece together and rebuild it back, and your goal is like, one of you wants to be an astronaut, right? And you're following that dream, and as you're going, and as you're exploring, there's lots of like puzzle solving together and navigating together, and you can, just like Lego, you can build bricks and you can connect to things, and there's just some really great cute puzzle solving moments. It's just a really fun, enjoyable experience, and it's something you can play in an afternoon. It took us like 4.5 hours to complete it, and we loved it. We really enjoyed it, and it was such a cute experience. And if you're looking for just a nice, really like chill co-op game, you know, to play with a friend, this is absolutely it. It's really fun, really cute, and if you like your puzzle solving, then you're going to really enjoy it. And like I say, it's just fun. It's just a really fun little cute co-op puzzle game. Coming in at number 8 is Hades 2. I'm surprised that this game is in my top 10 this year, because I've always said repeatedly, I'm not a roguelike player. I don't like roguelike games, generally speaking, because I hate losing my stuff. But I started playing Hades 2 over the Christmas holidays, and I am hooked. I don't know what it is, but this game has got its hooks into me. Maybe it's because it's a new protagonist. You play Melinoe, I think. I don't know if I butchered that, but you're basically the immortal daughter of Hades and the sister of Zagreus, which is the main protagonist from the first game. Now, Mel, for short, is basically a witch, so she has more magical attacks and a lot more ranged options. And it might be because of that ranged combat and ranged choices and things that I'm enjoying the combat a lot more. I don't know if they've just improved it or tweaked it. I don't know what it is that they've done, but I'm very much enjoying it. Your family, your father, your brother, your mother, they have been captured by Kronos, the Titan of Time, and basically you are trying to defeat Kronos and rescue your family and most of the underworld's inhabitants. The Olympian gods are back, so as you go through each run, you can take boons, from the Olympian gods, which give you new abilities or buffs on your abilities and things like that. You've got a really cool cast move, which puts down a circle, which can be used to like weaken enemies in an area or pull enemies into that area. You can spec on it and put like lightning bolts going down and stuff like that. And obviously, when you die, you return back, and then you can basically collect resources in as you go through each run, and you can use these to kind of like upgrade certain, I think they're like tarot cards, which give you like stat boosts and different things that make you a little bit stronger on your next run. I was really surprised by this game because I am hooked, like honestly really enjoying it. I haven't beaten it, but I knew the moment I started playing this, and probably by my third or fourth run, I was like, oh yes, I absolutely see why so many people enjoyed the first game. And I'm very much enjoying it, and I'm going to carry on playing it, and I'm going to finish it, and who knows, after I finished it, it may move further up my list, in terms of what my favorite games of the year were. But so far I'm loving it, and the music is just the voice acting, the art style, the animation, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But the combat, man, just so satisfying, so cool. And some of the boss fights, I've only experienced like two or three main boss fights so far, but yeah, they're so cool. I love them. So I'm very much enjoying Hades 2. Coming in at number 7 is South of Midnight. This was a game from Compulsion Games. Obviously, it was on Game Pass when it first came out. Xbox Game Studios publisher, or developer, I should say. I loved South of Midnight. It is set in the American Deep South, and it tells kind of southern folklore. You play as Hazel, who basically becomes a weaver. Beginning of the game, you get caught in this flood, and your mum and your house kind of float away, and you're trying to find your mum to rescue your mum. And as you do this, you kind of you explore, and you discover these kind of like southern kind of spirits and folk tales. And as a weaver, your role is to mend broken bonds and spirits. And the game is just so beautiful in terms of its art style, the way it tells its story, the different stories that are told in terms of the different kind of spirits, and it's really moving. It's an incredibly moving game in terms of the voice acting. The music is phenomenal, absolutely incredible. The gameplay is okay, I would say. It's a simple kind of melee based game, and the platforming again is okay. It's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? But it's the story, and it's the music and the art direction in this game that just completely blew me away. It's not a super long game. I beat it in like 10 hours, but if you're looking for like a really interesting story and art style and music, and that those things are important to you, I really do think you owe it to yourselves to play South of Midnight, because it was a very special experience this year, and I was quite surprised how much it moved me even after I finished the game and as I was playing it. So yeah, it was a great little gem that came out in 2025. In at number 6 is Ghost of Yotei. Of course, it's not really the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. It is another game in the Ghost series from Sucker Punch Productions, but it's a completely separate story. It's set in 1603, which is, I think, like 100 years or hundreds of years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima, and it's set in Ezo, which is basically like modern day Hokkaido in Japan. And the game follows Atsu, basically a mercenary on a revenge quest, and you're seeking vengeance against the Yotei Six, who basically slaughtered her family 16 years prior. I really enjoyed Ghost of Yotei. It was just what I wanted when it came out in October. For me, I thought it was a fantastic sequel. I thought it did more of the same. So it didn't really rock the boat, in terms of trying anything massively new or massively innovative. But I actually didn't need that from the game. A lot of it felt like comfort food, the perfect kind of comfort food, something familiar, something that feels comfortable, something and I really enjoyed my experience with it. I loved Ghost of Tsushima, so I very much was looking forward to jumping into another game in that franchise. I thought the open world was absolutely gorgeous, stunning, just stunning. Some of the vistas are beautiful. Music was incredible in the game. And then the open world parts of it, it's the same, in terms of you discovering things, following the wind, discovering like bamboo strike places and hot springs and shrines and different things that you can discover. So the world is just littered with stuff to discover, but it's the way in which you find it, the way in which you discover it, that's really creative. I loved the kind of myths that you found in the game. I thought those were really cool in terms of the different mythical stories, and you've got like new armor set from it if you completed it. And I enjoyed the stories that those told. Generally speaking, I thought the main story was very good. I thought that the main actress that played Atsu did a very, very good job. I thought the cast was great. I thought they did a fantastic job. And the story, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the villains. I thought they were really good, the way they did that. Some of the boss fights are epic. And the main character does have a very definite story arc, and as you progress through it. So I very much enjoyed it. It was one of the better games I played this year. Beat it in about 50 hours. But if you enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima, 100% you will enjoy Ghost of Yotei as well. And I actually thought they improved upon the combat in Ghost of Yotei. I thought all the different weapon abilities and different weapons that you had at your disposal and the fluidity of combat in Ghost of Yotei was fantastic. It was one of the things I probably enjoyed the most, was the combat and the options, for combat and stealth. So yeah, great game. Coming in at number 5 is Donkey Kong Bonanza. This game, man. This game, I tell you, Nintendo sometimes just loves flexing its creative muscles, and Donkey Kong Bonanza, when it came out in July, was just that. Obviously, this is from the team that brought you Super Mario Odyssey, and it's very obvious that it is from that team. This game is just how it works, how they have designed this game. Obviously, you play as Donkey Kong. You can pretty much smash anything in the environment. You can smash down, smash through, smash up. Everything is destructible. The way in which you have all the different abilities, that you get as well, was fantastic. And them giving you different game mechanics and stuff. The combat, the different enemies that you face, some of the boss fights, while the bosses are a little bit easy, I would say, they're still very fun and very creative. And for me, Donkey Kong Bonanza was just a masterclass in gameplay design and innovation. I thought it probably was the best game that came out on the Switch 2 this year. For me, Donkey Kong Bonanza is a title that's worth buying a Nintendo Switch 2 for. It is that good, and it's mind-boggling how they got this game to run and how this game even works. It's just incredible, and it has me excited, for the future and what comes next. But yeah, really enjoyed it, and the music's great, and just how wholesome it is, with Donkey Kong and Pauline. It's just great. It's just a feel good Nintendo game that's just incredibly creative and so much fun to play. Honestly, so satisfying. If you've had a stressful day at work, I can't think of a better game to play than Donkey Kong Bonanza. Coming in at number 4 is The Outer Worlds 2. This is obviously by Obsidian Entertainment. So like I said, Obsidian had a game in my bottom and in the top of my list this year. And Outer Worlds 2 deserved a place in my top 10 this year. Of course, it's a sequel to Outer Worlds. It's an RPG, sci-fi kind of RPG. It's set in a brand new colony in Arcadia. And yeah, you can create your own customizable character with their own background and things. I loved the Outer Worlds 2 this year. I actually thought that it was an improvement on the Outer Worlds in pretty much every respect. I thought the RPG side of the game was incredibly impressive, from the way in which you can create your character with your own backstory. I played a scientist and I had so many dialogue choices because of my background. There were so many pathways that were open to me and different dialogue options and things, and my choices in the beginning and throughout the game really did impact upon the story and the way in which characters would react to you and respond to you. Like, you might say something 5 hours ago, right, and they would reference it, which is incredible, really, really clever. But then the gameplay, like the build craft, like as you play through this game, there's so many ways to approach different scenarios, from going in stealthily to going in guns blazing to hacking certain things. There's just so much choice, and the game really evolves around you. So as you play a certain style, there are like perks and flaws that become available. So for example, initially early on, I started to spec into different abilities, right? Because I wanted to be able to like do a lot of different things early on to give me more options and more choices. And then it developed like a flaw which was called like a jack of all trades, master of none. And basically what would happen is every time I leveled, I would get a bonus level point, but the downside of that is I could only put the points into my lowest level abilities. So it means that you would level up a lot of different things that you might never usually level up, and it meant that your character was more well-rounded. It meant you couldn't go into something super hard, but it meant that like it gave you more options, like in terms of things that you could do. There are moments where like I was going into what would be potentially a boss fight, and I was able to talk the boss down just because of my charisma and my ability to persuade them, right, or intimidate them. I loved it so much. The RPG side of Outer Worlds 2 is just really, really good. And then I actually felt that the writing in the second game was stronger. I thought the main story campaign that was told was a lot stronger. The game is a bit slow starting, I will say that. So it is a bit slow to begin, definitely. But once you pick up and get into that second half of the game, it really starts to open up at that point. And the story, the way in which it goes, and the different factions and everything and how it all plays in, really, really good. And then I also thought that the companions were better written in the second game. I thought that they were a lot better written, and I enjoyed the companion quests, and I enjoyed their writing a lot better. So it's just interesting, the juxtaposition between Avowed on one hand and the Outer Worlds 2 on the other. Two RPGs that couldn't be more different in terms of their quality, for sure. But the Outer Worlds 2, if you haven't played it, honestly, please do play it. And if you played the first game and enjoyed the first game, you will very much enjoy the sequel. And because there's so much scope for like build craft and RPG side of things, like there's just so much scope for replay in this game. And I'm kind of curious to replay it through and make different choices. I very much enjoyed it. And then the gunplay is so much better. Oh my god, the weapons are so much better and so much more satisfying to use. I felt that the gunplay was a little janky in the first game. Like that hitbox wasn't quite right, and often some shots would not hit when they should have done. So it definitely feels like the gunplay in the sequel is it feels more skill based, you know, and very satisfying in terms of their animations, kickback sounds, really, really good. So yeah, highly recommend it. Coming in at number 3 is Dispatch. This was a late comer for me in the year. It came out in October. It's by Ad Hoc Studio. It is their debut game, and it's pretty much from the writers and directors of Tales from the Borderlands and The Wolf Among Us. Dispatch for me was an absolute surprise wonder. I absolutely loved it so much. Basically, it's set in a superhero workplace. It's a comedy set in modern day LA. You play Robert Robertson, who is basically a superhero called Mecha Man. At the beginning of the game, your mech suit is destroyed in a battle against his nemesis, and you are effectively forced to take a job not as a superhero, but as a superhero dispatch center call handler, while your mech suit is being repaired, and you're put in charge of like a rehabilitating group of ex-supervillains. The writing in this game is phenomenal. Like the star cast of characters in it. You've got Aaron Paul, who plays Robert Robertson, Laura Bailey, Matt Mercer, Jeffrey Wright, and then there are even some like content creators like Moist Critical, Alana Pierce, Jacksepticeye. The voice acting and writing is just so good. Of course, the humor initially, it's a bit hit and miss to start off with in the first early chapters. It's a little toilet humor kind of, but as you play through it, the writing just becomes so good, and these characters are so well written and so deep and so three-dimensional that you really learn to love them and to get to know them. And there are very much like choices and consequences as you play through it, and there are key decisions that feel weighty, that feel consequential, that are hard to make. I very much enjoyed the story. The gameplay is okay. No, it's fine. There isn't that much, in terms of gameplay segments. Like there's the odd like puzzle solving bits. Like there's a few hacking sections. Obviously, where you're a dispatcher, you have different kind of calls that you have to handle, and you have to choose which hero to send out to each call, and every hero has their own stats and things that they're good or bad with, and you have to make the right choices, which improves your percentage chance of succeeding in that call. And it's great. I enjoyed it. It's like a puzzle solving kind of thing, but the story, man, and the animation, god damn, the animation in this game is so good. The animation is incredible. It's like like literally like watching an animated TV series or movie. It's of that level. It really is. Dispatch was very much one of the best games I played this year, and it's probably one of the best like written games I played this year, and I really enjoyed it. Coming in at number 2 is Split Fiction. This is the next game from Hazelight Studios, obviously the makers of It Takes Two. Dante and I played this back in March. We actually streamed a little bit of it, and we really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's a co-op game. You can play it locally or online co-op, and the game centers around Zoe and Mio, who are aspiring writers. One writes sci-fi, the other writes fantasy, and effectively you get trapped in your own stories after being hooked up to a machine designed to steal your creative ideas by this kind of like evil corporation, kind of thing. And as you travel through their stories and jump from world to world, like any Hazelight Studios game, there is so much creativity on offer here. It's unreal, not only from the art direction and the storytelling and the different worlds that are created, but also in terms of gameplay mechanics. This game does not stop. It does not stop. It just throws new mechanic after new mechanic at you, literally for 1 or 2 levels, and then throws that mechanic away and introduces something completely new to you. And all these mechanics are obviously very much are cooperative. They're about working together, they're about puzzle solving and persevering together, and it's just a whirlwind of a game that never stops throwing new and interesting things at you. And for me, it was a Game of the Year contender this year. I was really surprised that it wasn't nominated as a Game of the Year contender. I feel a little bit that it got unjustifiably overlooked, because it was a fantastic game, and that final level of the game is just, it's a creative miracle. I don't know how they did that final level in the game, but God, it was so good. It was so good. And for me, it actually improved upon It Takes Two in pretty much every way. I very much enjoyed it. And Dante and I had a lot of fun with it. It is a game that will just put a huge smile on your face. And I loved it. If you like your co-op games, please do play this game with a friend or a family member. It's delightful. It really is. And finally, my Game of the Year is surprising nobody. It is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It was never going to be any other game this year for me. It was only ever going to be Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I've had previous years where I've been back and forth on my Game of the Year. 2024 was such a year for me. I kept going back and forth on my Game of the Year, but this year it was a very clear winner, and that was Clair Obscur Expedition 33 from Sandfall Interactive. Of course, their debut game, an absolute masterpiece of game design, sheer perfection in every way, from the art, the story, the music, the gameplay. It oozes creativity and passion. Honestly, a truly incredible achievement for Sandfall Interactive. I cannot express how much this game impacted upon me this year, not only in terms of the incredible story, the premise of Expedition 33 with Paintress, and obviously, you know, her painting a number every year, and as soon as it hits your number, everybody gets gommaged and disappears, and you're kind of running against time, you know, to try and stop the Paintress and find out what's going on. The premise and the world is fascinating, absolutely incredible, and as you get into Act 1 and Act 2, so well written. The characters of Gustav, Mael, Lune, Ciel, Verso, Monaco are so well written and so human and so believable and have so much heart, and the performance and the delivery, the voice acting talent on offer here, the art direction, the cinematography of it all, just I can't express how incredible it is. And the story is, even Act 1 and Act 2 is fantastic. Act 1, man, it's gonna make you cry. Like, this game is gonna make you cry so many times. It's so powerfully written. And then you get to Act 3 and it's like whoop, and it just like, what the hell, like there's like a whole twist and you're like, what the hell's going on? But as you play it through a second or third time, there are like hints all the way through, which I didn't notice the first time round, and so it just has replay value, you know, in that way. But the story is so interesting and so well done. The musical score, oh my god, I can't even with the music. The music is like, it's probably some of the best game music I have ever heard, and I have gone through many a game soundtrack in my time, but the music of Expedition 33 is on a whole other level, and it's to the point of I could just listen to the music all day long. I often will have it playing in the background while I'm painting or reading or something. The music is just so incredible, so amazing, and so creative, and has so much heart and emotion in it, and just makes you feel so many things, and it just works so well with the story and the art style and the art direction, the enemy design. It's all incredible, and then the boss fights are incredible, and then to top that all off, the combat is just so good. It's like a combination of turn-based combat and action combat. Like, who knew that we needed this, you know, in our JRPG inspired RPGs. Like, who knew that we needed that? Like, of course, it's not completely new. Like, there have been, like, the ability to parry is something we're familiar with from games like Mario RPG, of course. But the way in which it's done with the animations in Clair Obscur, and then the way in which you have, like, the build craft potential that is in, like, the Pictos and the Luminous systems is just so clever. And some of the builds that you can make some broken builds, but so much fun, you know, just like any true JRPG, where as you get endgame, you're just broken, you know, you can just do some crazy over the top, just massive damage, you know, kind of things. And I loved it so much that I actually 100%ed it. I beat Simon on my first playthrough. It took me quite a few attempts, I'm not gonna lie, but I beat it and I 100%ed it. And that is how much I love this game, because it's very rare I will 100% a game, because I just don't have the time. It is very rare I will 100% something, and it has to be a truly special game to make me want to do that. And Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was such a game this year. It is easily my game of the year. It really did deserve all the adulation it got at the Game Awards, and all of the awards it won. Absolutely, it deserved the recognition for it this year, and it's easily my game of the year 2025, without a doubt the easiest choice I had to make this year. So there is my top 25 games that I played this year ranked for you. If you stuck around for the video, I really appreciate you, because this video became a lot longer than I was expecting. I think I've like doubled my time from last year, but you know what, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it with some gameplay in the background, and who knows, maybe this introduced you to some games you hadn't heard about or hadn't even considered playing last year, and maybe you're now interested to jump in and check it out. I hope you found this video informative, useful, interesting. I hope to listen to my thoughts on things. Let me know obviously your favorite games of 2025. I would really like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Please do share, and obviously we're looking ahead now into 2026, and there's going to be even more incredible games coming up in 2026 from the looks of it. And I'm going to do a video talking about my most anticipated games coming out in 2026, for sure. Definitely let me know if you're interested in that kind of content as well as some of the videos I've got in the works as well. But yes, thank you so much guys for watching and sticking around. I really do appreciate you. A special shout out of course to my Patreon and channel members. Thank you so much for your support. If you are interested in becoming a member, you can do that below, and obviously, you know, like, subscribe, comment. That really does help, especially with the algorithm at the moment. It's tough out there at the moment, especially, you know, if you're not one like me. I hate making like clickbait hate content. I'm not into that at all. I'd rather talk about the games I love and excited for and just be me, and I'm not going to let an algorithm change who I am. So please do support the channel if you enjoy the content by liking, commenting, subscribing. It really does go a long way, and it really does help let YouTube know that this content is good and you enjoy it and want to see more of it. So yeah, I hope you guys of course have a great week. Of course, take care, and as always, happy gaming. I should go.